Hi, I am going to now talk about the 3-day intervention that I did with Alex and what I learned about him by observing him, working with him, and analyzing his reading behaviors. So, when I was doing this intervention with him, I noticed a lot of strengths in him. So, Alex genuinely engages with the text and the story that I read with him. He likes to share his opinions, ask questions, and he likes to tell me what he thinks is going to happen in the story. He was really excited to work with me, which made me really happy. This level of engagement is really important because it shows he's trying to make meaning as he reads. Another strength that Alex shows was that he reads at a decent pace now. So he blends syllables smoothly instead of chopping up words. He's getting to that fluency level that we want him. He brings such a positive attitude to reading. So he tries really hard to stay focused, and he's willing to really try and do all of the work that I had him do in this intervention. I also noticed a lot of needs for Alex. So Alex struggles to blend sentences and phrases together when he reads. Although he is getting better at blending words and syllables together, he is still having trouble blending sentences and phrases together as he reads, which affects his fluency. So he tends to pause in odd places, almost like he's reading word by word rather than grouping words together into meaningful chunks. So another need that Alex has is his expression. So he reads at a very monotone voice, and this affects his comprehension because he isn't using his voice to match what is happening in the story, to change voices through depending on which character is talking. And he also sometimes reads or tries to read too quickly. So this leads to mistakes, and then he has to self-correct himself, which interrupts his flow even more. So this shows that he can listen to himself and think, oh, this doesn't sound right, and then he goes back and rereads it slowly. So it's kind of that back and forth with him sometimes. All right, so my initial reaction to Alex in our first lesson was before instruction. Alex would often start by chatting with me, talking about his day or other random thoughts that he has in his head. And so I needed to really redirect him to get started. And he was really excited, but it was a little bit of a push to redirect him to get started. When he felt frustrated, he sometimes asked me to read the text for him, even though he was usually really willingly to try it himself afterward. His engagement grew a lot based on the first lesson to the last one. So he started talking more about the story instead of off-topic things. He shared his opinions, and he even connected the story to his own life, and he started participating in meaning making in a much more intentional way. So it really showed me that confidence and engagement are connected for him. When he feels supported and successful, he buys into the process. Right, so we're gonna move on to the progress that I noticed across the 3 days. In the who what lesson, so my lesson number 1, he needed a lot of prompting. So especially when we were identifying character actions, and we were trying to nail down what the big ideas were for each character. He could do it with a lot of prompting and a lot of support, as he was kind of a little jittery, maybe since we were in the hallway, he was looking and getting distracted a little bit. On the second lesson, we were talking about characters and setting. He seemed a lot more focused, as we already read a chunk of the story. He was really excited to keep reading. So he started using sentence frames more independently, and he contributed more accurate details to our graphic organizers that we had. The last lesson, where we talked about problem and solution, he participated even more independently. So he needed fewer reminders for redirection. His ability to make connections and identify important details strengthened, and you can really see that with his oral opinions and his oral thinking. I could really see his comprehension has really deepened in this last lesson. So moving on to the feedback that I have given him. So throughout all the 3 lessons, I made sure to give my feedback and make sure that it's consistent and encouraging. So in the first lesson, I relied more on redirection and scaffolding. I would say things like, let's think about who this part is about, and I also said things like, what did the character do here? So I did a lot more questioning him. And by the second lesson, there were more he liked using more of the sentence stems or frames and vocabulary, and I praised him whenever he used the terms correctly. In the third lesson, I made a deeper questioning, and I would say things more like, what makes you think that's the problem? Or why do you think that's a problem? Or how do you know the character solved that problem? So it got him to think a little bit more and give me his thoughts a little bit more as well. I wanted to push him into more independent thinking while still supporting him when he needed it. So across the 3 days, I tried to have a balance between prompting, clarifying, and positively reinforcing his effort. And I really think that helped him feel confident, supported, and willing to take more ownership of his comprehension of the story we read together. So overall, Alex showed clear growth, not only in comprehension, but also in engagement with the story and the activities we did together. He still needs fluency work, especially with phrasing and expression, but his improvement over these 3 days was really meaningful, and he has shown so much growth compared to the beginning of the year. So I'm really proud of him for that. Yeah, thank you.